I'm Lainey Macken. I'm a senior BFA directing student, and I'm here to talk about my thesis film. So it's kind of a personal story. It's based on like my family and like their experiences having a relative with schizophrenia. That's the main topic. I started writing it spring semester of my junior year in Screenwriting 2 class with King Lou. And I actually changed my script over the summer. I went for something totally different because I wasn't sure I wanted to make something that personal. But after talking to some other directors, they kind of convinced me to go back to it. So I revisited it this past fall and totally reworked it. It was tough. I feel like it was always super easy in my class with the other directors. A lot of them are doing personal projects too, so they just created a really nice welcoming environment. Same with the professors. It was more just having to pitch that project to a classroom full of people. But honestly, it just got easier once my team got put together. Everyone was super passionate about it. And I think everyone kind of knew it was a personal topic, but they didn't ask any intrusive questions or anything. Everyone was so sweet and supportive. So I would say I had a great experience making such a personal piece. First of all, I'd say representation. I think there's so many films, especially in the horror genre, that just demonize mental illness, make it seem like this plot device or this totally debilitating thing. And actually a lot of people live with serious mental health conditions like schizophrenia. So partially I wanted to talk about that and just have some positive representation, especially of women and specifically a queer woman character on screen who deals with mental illness. I thought that would be really important. And then also just I know a lot of people who do have relatives with schizophrenia. It's funny, before I made the film, so many people brought it up to me and they were like, yeah, I'm kind of nervous because I'm predisposed. And this word just got thrown around and I was like, oh, me too. I guess I'll sort of explore that more, explore people's experiences with having this hereditary predisposition to a mental illness and how that kind of feels. So I had a great team. We had a lot of department heads who were women. We had Anna Barlotta as our producer, who's just amazing. She's in LA right now. But she was just so enthusiastic, always encouraging me to make changes, even though I was worried that they were too dramatic or not feasible. She was just go for it and then we'll figure it out. I had Fred Chi as my DP, who's just fantastic, such a funny person, such a great person to have on set. And he was down for whatever. We tried this dolly zoom during our pivotal shoot that totally didn't work. It was kind of a mess, but he was yeah, let's try it. It seems like a cool idea. And then my editor, Eugenia, is just amazing. She's really into experimental stuff and horror, and she was always just so enthusiastic about trying new things, maybe going away from traditional narrative film form a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I had an incredible team. I thought the faculty put it together with so much thought. I was really grateful to end up with those people working with me. It was really fun. I would say last year for my junior thesis, I had a tough time kind of asserting myself, speaking up, getting used to being kind of the voice in the room that everyone's listening to, because that's just the job. I kind of took it very personally at first, but I think this year, especially with my team members, I was able to make it okay, this is a profession, you are supposed to be the person that people ask about all of these questions. So I just got used to having the last say on things, which is tough, but I kind of just trusted my team and I was they would tell me if I made a bad decision or, you know, if they weren't sure about something. So yeah, getting used to building up that confidence was important. And then dealing with the story, just being true to how I felt when I wrote it and just trying to make sure I wasn't making any decisions for the wrong reasons. Paintings are a big part of it. We get to this really weird scene where there's a void and there's floating paintings in the air and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It was so fun to try, and Temple let us do this crazy setup for that in the TV studio where we had this giant diffusion grid sort of suspended over the ground, and we hung paintings from it around the edges, and there was a mirror hanging in the middle. Remains to be seen how that looks in post, but like, I was so happy that they let us do that. I would hope that they get the message that everyone struggles with mental illness, and the most important thing to do if you're going through that situation or if you know someone else who's struggling with that is to provide support or just lean on your friends. One of the central relationships in the film is between the main character Elena and her best friend Moss, and that sort of is the through line that allows her to come out the other side despite not being cured or really knowing exactly what's going on with her. That relationship sort of keeps her stable. So yeah, and also that it's important to talk about mental illness and just get rid of that stigma, because I mean there's still a lot of people who are just really afraid to talk about it. And I just think as many pieces of media we have that humanize conditions and just encourage talking to people, leaning on people, I think that's really important. Not really, actually, mostly because the two main characters were based on people in my life. So kind of when in doubt, I just thought about my friends and how they'd act in a certain situation, and I just tried to keep it really grounded in my reality. But I would say the main character was tough because there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot that I wanted to include, and it was just kind of hard to narrow it down and also explain to people this is why she's acting the way she is, this is why she's shutting people out. I feel the whole conflict of the film could be resolved if the main character just said what was going on with her, but she doesn't, and that was kind of the hard part, just to tease out exactly why she doesn't and try to make sure that's foreshadowed throughout the narrative. It's been great. I love Philly. I'm a city person. I'm from Manhattan, so this is the perfect sort of environment to be in. I find it inspiring and fun. Working with Temple has been great, honestly. I love Neil, my directing professor. He was kind of just so supportive the entire time. And like I said earlier, just the cohort of directors and producers and all the different concentrations was so helpful. Because I know that people who go to different colleges or in different film programs find it really hard to motivate themselves and deal with finding all of these team members by themselves. But I think the way that Temple sets up the concentrations and sets up the final teams for senior thesis is just so helpful. So yeah, I mean, I found it a great experience. I'm definitely looking at staying in Philly after graduation, working in film here. So yeah, no complaints. Go Owls!